Well, hey, Daily Dosers, Chris here, coming to you from a place called Engedi, the Valley of the Wild Goats. And not only is it a beautiful place with a little stream running through it, but it's a place that has incredible history in the life of Israel. You see, there's a story about a young guy named David who kills Goliath. You may have heard of it. The king at that time is named Saul. He's embarrassed that he wasn't out there on the battlefield. People start singing songs. Saul has killed his thousands, but David is tens of thousands. And now King Saul hates David. He fears that his throne will be taken away. So now he sets out to pursue David. But by this time, David's reputation precedes him. He's got several hundred men that are loyal to him. Oh, he's built up a small little army of his own. And now we've got current king versus next in line to be king. And current King Saul is chasing him. And this is where this little valley comes in. And for you and I, with these caves behind me, man, I hope you can see this in a whole different light. It's 1 Samuel chapter 23. Saul is sending for people saying, where is David? Does anyone know where he's at? And in chapter 24, or the end of chapter 23, verse 29 of 1 Samuel, it said, David went up from there and lived in the strongholds of Engedi. This is where David and his men lived. Now, these caves behind me go all the way along the valley as far as you can see. And we've already been in and seen how huge. You can literally hide hundreds of people in these caves. And after Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told David is in the desert of Engedi, right here. So Saul took 3,000 able young men from all of Israel and sent out to look for David and his men near the crags of the wild goats. And he came to the sheep pens along the way, and a cave was there. And Saul went in to relieve himself. And David and his men were far back in the cave. And his men said, this is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with as you wish. But David crept up unnoticed and cut off just a corner of Saul's robe. So somewhere in this, as you're walking in that Dead Sea area that I talked to you from yesterday, where nothing is green and nothing grows because of the water and the soil, you finally come to this little green valley with the stream that flows. King Saul finally has a place to relieve himself, and he goes into one of these caves, and he just happens to pick the one where David and his men are lurking in this vast tunnel system. And his men come and say, God's just given you your enemy. But David goes up and just cuts off a corner of the king's robe. Now, he doesn't have it on him when he's relieving himself. I know it's a little disgusting part of the story. One of my favorite ones in the Bible, because I didn't get to color this in Sunday school. Maybe you did. But I would remember it as a second or third grader if we had a color where the king pooped in the cave. And I don't remember that story coming to me as a little kid. But the challenge from that story is for all of us as adults. David crept up when Saul would have taken off his clothes, laid him somewhere in a rock in the cave, went to relieve himself, and just cut off a corner of the king's robe. And then it simply goes like this. Then David went out from the cave and called out to Saul, my lord the king. And Saul looked up behind him, and David bowed down, prostrated himself with his face to the ground. And he said to Saul, why do you listen when men say David is bent on harming you? This day you have seen with your own eyes how the Lord delivered you into my hands in a cave. Oh, some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not lay my hand on my Lord because he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, look at this piece of robe in my hand. I cut off the corner of your robe, but I did not kill you. See that there is nothing in my hand to indicate that I am guilty of wrongdoing or rebellion. I have not wronged you, but you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between you and me, and may the Lord avenge the wrongs you have done to me, but my hand will not touch you. Can you imagine the king coming down from a cave, joining his 3,000 men? David steps out of the same cave, holding up a corner of the robe. Hey, buddy, you forgot something. Do you see what I could have done to you? Why are you chasing me down? I've done no wrong. There's nothing I can be guilty of. May God judge between you and me, and may God avenge whoever is right. So here's our challenge today. Who's your enemy? Someone's not maybe literally trying to kill you, but who's assassinating your character, your reputation? Who's trash talking you? You have an employee or an employer that doesn't like you. You have someone at work that's making life difficult. You have a neighbor or an in-law or a family member that just keeps heaping on the insults, and you have every right to join the battle. You have every right to take your knife, your tongue, and to start assassinating them. Man, I choose you. This is a battle of two kings. One that is faced on revenge because his pride has been hurt, and one that says, God, I will let you judge. Oh, and the end of the story, we all know which one God chooses and God picks. Today, I challenge you. Make a list of your enemies. Who in your life do you wish would you get torn to shreds? And you before God say, God, I will do this your way, not my way. You be the judge. You bring revenge. You bring discipline, not me. That's the heart God is looking for from the place where it actually happened. You say, Chris, that's going to take a lot of strength. Where's that come from? Thanks for asking. That's tomorrow. That's part 2. And it's about 150 yards up this valley. And I'm going to take you there.